Alvin, and I'm the originator of the show. And, each week we bring you artists that do jazz crossover into R&B, jazz gospel, jazz reggae, jazz blues, jazz country. And our station is devoted to keeping jazz alive. It's hard to find jazz on many stations anymore, but we play jazz 24/7. We've had a string of wonderful guests, that all of you know about. And tonight we have a very special guest I've been wanting to have on the show for a while. It's Eric Roberson. So let me bring Eric on right now without wasting any more time, and then I'll tell you a little bit about his accomplishments. Hi, Eric.
Hey, how you doing, Mel?
Good. How are you?
Great, man. Can't complain.
Good. I want to really thank you. I know you have a busy schedule. You're recording, you're touring, and I wanted to have you on, but I've had so many of your friends and collaborators on. A couple of weeks ago, I had Dwele on, and he was talking about you. So, and I had Raheem on. He talked about you. Everybody seems to, they know. Of course, you collaborated with all of them. So, I'm glad you could make it. Thank you.
Well, hopefully they had good things to say.
Very good. Very good things. Very good things. In fact, what I want to do right now is to go over some of your accomplishments. I don't want to embarrass you with the list of all the things that you've done, but National Museum of African American Art and Music, your concept music director for a theme show writer for the band, for Jimmy Fallon, and for my jam sessions, which are great. And then you did also your professor at Berklee College of Music, and you're part of the American Cancer Society. You were a guest on Questlove Supreme Podcast. You're a performer on Verizon Live, and that was with Anthony Hamilton and versus Musiq Soulchild. And then you had also it was Soulchild, and then you had performance with Smokey Robinson, a tribute at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So you've done a lot, my son.
I've been busy and I've been fortunate. I don't take it for granted. But when I hear all the stuff you're listening, I'm like, yeah, well, I guess we have been doing a lot.
Sometimes you sit back when you hear somebody recite all these things and you say, I did all that.
Yeah. I'll tell you, even, I've been in this business going on 30 years now. I mean, for a large part of it, I had my head down just trying to make it make sense. So I don't know if I was really even paying attention to, how much we were getting accomplished. I was just too busy on just trying to make sure we could do it. And I'm really happy with the results, man. And at the same time, I still feel great. I still feel like I got a lot of work in front of me. So God willing, we'll keep going.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that work in front of you, and as well as the work that's already behind you, both. Before I get into asking you questions, the first thing I like every artist to do is to tell everybody what's cooking. What do you have in the works in terms of new releases? What are you doing in terms of appearances? So why don't you fill everybody in on what you're doing currently?
Well, currently I've been enjoying a great deal of writing. Not just writing songs. I'm probably 30 songs in for the year already. Songs with other artists as well, like Najee and Freddie Jackson and Jeff Brashaw that just released. It's been a lot of stuff, but I also just been chasing like very personal ideas and trying to figure out how to make them the best way to take my breath away. What I'll tell you is that July 19th, which is probably next week, I don't even know what day it is today. We're releasing one of the first songs out of the 30 that I just did called Things Meant for Me. And it's a very personal song. Like, it's really trusting and really going into a lot of my personal belief in songwriting. Like, I believe the song is already there. It's just my job to find it. And life is that way too. So I think people are going to really enjoy the song. And I will tell you that I probably will, in all honesty, from July to December, you may hear more music from me than you possibly ever heard from me in a year or in a 6-7 month span. So just having a good time creating, man. Of course, we're touring. We're on the road. I leave out Saturday again for another run. But just really, that's the main thing, man. Just writing a lot of essays. I just wrote an article for Billboard. Anyone interested, there's an article now. Go to billboard.com. just Google my name. I wrote an article about the 5 important aspects of having a healthy, long career in this business, and I feel like it'd be very helpful for up and coming artists. So just having fun, man. You ask me if I'm not jumping in the pool with the kids and the wife, I'm on the road trying to make the best song I can make.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm again, the body of work that you've done over the years is really extraordinary. And all the artists that I've had on that are really successful just love their craft and they constantly create. And that's what really differentiates them from a lot of other artists. It's just a dedication to your craft and the creativity that never dies. It's just always there.
Yeah. And I think I've been really dedicated, one, to combining words. I love it. But at the same time, like just dedicated to understanding the relationship with creativity, and I think I'm in a good place with the relationship of it. Even like back in the day, let's say when an idea showed up, the world had to stop for me. And now if an idea shows up and the kids want to go outside, we're going outside.
Yeah.
The idea will be here when I get back. And it took me a long time to get to that place, but I really believe in it now, and it makes me a better songwriter, a better producer, and a better artist as well.
That's so important. One of the things that is true of the 21st century is that the priority of work sometimes because of technology is ever present. Before you had a cell phone, you can get away from your work and get away from people. But the magic of the cell phone, has really, you just can't escape and you have to shut down. You just have to because the work's going to be there tomorrow, like you said. When you come back to it, it's still going to be there. It's not going anywhere. But you have to have a life, and that's what sparks your creativity too. Keeps it fresh.
We have these T-shirts that's coming out. This one's process over product, but I have one that says "Read till you're full and write till you're empty, then read till you're full." And it's not just. I mean, of course, I love to read books. I have books laying all around here, but it's really like reading is also about like going out and living. And then pour out what you gain from living into your craft and into your light, into the people you love, and then go out and pull some more. And it's just the same practice of inhaling and exhaling is the same thing of creative or living. So it's all together. And I wish I figured it out sooner. but hey man, I turned 50 this year and I'm having a good time. I make no excuses about it. So let's just keep reading and writing.
You were too busy to think of it sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all true. I want to go back to something that to me is very important. You were one of the first indie artists really out there. Early on, you figured that one out, and you had recorded with Warner Brothers. Is that correct? Your earliest recordings?
Yeah. So my first deal was for a single called "The Moon" on Warner Brothers when I was 19, and that was great. I was a sophomore in college. It was very short-lived. It didn't, fully work out to the way I dreamed and imagined and prayed for. But it was probably what's best for me. I went back to college after that, and when I graduated, I really dove into songwriting and production for other artists. And what that allowed me to do was like really see the other side of the business. It's funny. I just had a session with some amazing friends, and we were talking about all the great artists that we knew that made albums that never came out. And like great records. And I've been a part of a lot of those records too. Like actually watch a record be made and say, man, this record comes out, this could change the course. And for whatever reason with the label, it doesn't happen. And I think that was one of the things that really strengthened me to be an independent artist. Was like, I just didn't want to, what part wasn't that important. The part was making sure that it got out and that I was able to do what I felt and heard in my spirit was probably more important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I know that your first album was not released for whatever reason. What's it called? Represent? Is that the name of it, or am I wrong?
Oh, I mean, I don't even know if I got to the point to name it. I mean, I left Warner and went to Island, and I was making a record, and of course that record deal didn't happen as well. And I mean, I had different projects and things of that nature. So, then years later, I've written for a ton of people, and I was in the business and enjoying it. But I had these songs that were just too personal for me to share, like to give away. And I was like, that was probably the spark of everything. It was like, man, I wouldn't sell this song. So when I go sell this song, but I yet made it, well, who's going to sing it? you know.
Yeah.
And by no means, you know, I'll tell you, I gotta give credit to like Fertile Ground for sure. For other people that put out independent records before me, for sure. I'll tell you the big difference was that I knew how that worked and what happened if I stayed on course this way. Because the labels after you sell a certain amount are gonna come to sign you. That's what happened with Dwele. That's what happened with Lettucey. That's what happened with so many artists. Once you sold a lot independently, then they would come and sign you. And I was like, what happens if I don't? What happens if I just keep putting records out? So over the last 20 something years, we've had the fortunate opportunity of just continuing to keep putting records out, and it's been fortunate that way.
Absolutely. And again, the amount of work that you turn out is remarkable. And what early on, I just want to try to clarify this. When you got out of college and you decided you wanted to be independent, but there was nobody around that was doing that very much. Why did you think that would be successful?
I don't even think that I was thinking whether it's success or not. I was thinking I wasn't satisfied, and I got into the business, and as a part of the business of, I mean, this business can, once you have an album, once you have a song, can you make a better one? Can you make a bigger one? That's how everything's talked about. If you sold 3 million albums of this album, and the next album you sold 1 million albums, they would treat that album like it was a failure. That never makes
Yeah.
sense to me. You know what I mean? If you won a Grammy on this album, but didn't win a Grammy on the next one, then something must be wrong. And that never really worked well with me. So for me, I liked having songs I like chasing the ideas I had in my head. And sure, if it worked, if I could sell a song to an artist and this and that, but there was something about not being satisfied. And as well, if I'm just also being very transparent, the life of a songwriter, oh my God, my bank account was a roller coaster. You had a big year, followed by a quiet year, followed by a huge year, followed by a quiet year. And I was like, I mean, it was crazy. So I think not waiting on someone else to hire me and kind of hiring myself, as well as like, I tell you one thing I used to do, man. I used to go to the barbershop, and I'd walk in the barbershop with 3 CDs. And I say, I'm gonna leave my wallet in the car, and I'm not getting a haircut till I sell these CDs. It's one of the like simple things, right? Like I'm walking in this barbershop, and like 3 people are gonna buy this album, and it's gonna pay for my haircut. And that was just the symbolism of everything. Like if I can hustle, I can make something this much this week. It may not be what I was making all this publishing and all this whatever, but the consistency of it, I could live. I didn't have to live broke. I might have more money than most of my friends, but I had to live broke because I never knew when the next check was coming. Because artists would get signed and dropped and all kind of, it was really weird. I just wanted more control of my destiny and my peace and happiness, to be honest. So I think that's what kind of started.
Yeah, Eric, how did you figure out distribution? I mean, you can walk into a barbershop and sell some CDs, but to have a career, how did you figure out branding, distribution, promotions, management? How did you do that right out of college?
A lot of trial and error, but also a lot of trusting some really good friends. My team now that's with me, most of them have been with me for, if not the entire ride, but almost over 15 years. And it's been special. But I mean, I think the fans also really challenged me to take it serious. I started paying attention and learning. We've had multiple shifts over the last 20 something years. Physical CDs died and streaming took over and social media took off and stuff of that nature. So it was very interesting, but I had to learn it and I had to figure out marketing. To me, the main thing was, hold on a second. Can you tell Tracy? Yes. Can you go up and see my dad just and get what he's outside? Y'all can go up and see him if you want to. Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
But like one of the simple things I always tell, like, it starts with one. Like the proud thing. One of the things I'm most proud of is that my fan base, I've earned them. Like, I mean, I went to town after town, and some shows were as small as 50 people. And I would always say, if you felt something, I challenge you to support it. And then I would run to the CD table, and I'm like, I want to support it. And it didn't really have to be supporting what I was doing. If you like the show, if you like the album, buy the album, cool. Sign it, mailing this, cool. But it was really about like, do something, like find something you love and find it. And I think having those shows and having certain DJs look out for you, 50 people grew to 100, 100 grew to 500, 500 grew to some 1,000-seat venues, some 1,500. You know, it grew, but it's also about like, if we're going to do a business, let's figure this out. And I sat down with a lot of great executives. I sat down with a lot of great managers. I sat down with a lot of other artists, and we just compared notes. You know, really, I mean, that's the thing. And you know, everybody has a different analogy on how they go about things, but that was it. I mean, I tell everybody that, you know, over the last 20-something years, my success is based off of the fact that I completed everything I tried. Not everything worked, right? It's like that. Man, plenty of stuff crashed and burned, but I've been proudly transparent over the last 20-something years. I'll tell you a funny story. When first time I did London, I knew how many CDs I shipped to London. So I wasn't expecting a big crowd. We did Jazz Cafe, and they said, well, we want to do like 3 nights at Jazz Cafe. And it's like sold out, jam-packed with people. And I'm like, when I get on stage, the crowd is singing along to every song. So that I stopped singing. I'm listening to them sing to me. I'm like, how is this happening? I only sent like 100 CDs to London. Like, why does everyone here know all the songs? Why does everyone hear that album? And there was this company that was bootlegging my album.
Ah.
Right? So people were coming to have me sign. I was like, what is this? Like, how'd you get this? I was like signing like, what is this? This is not my album. They're like, oh, this is the company that's selling your album. And at first I'm like, I'm going to find this company and burn the building down. And then I was like, but I wouldn't have the fan base if they didn't.
That's right. That's right. You hit it on the head. You know, that was the best marketing you could have gotten.
Yeah, it was the best. So, of course, 2 albums later, now I have distribution in London, and now we figured it out. Now we're benefiting off of that crowd. But that was kind of the certain things that you had to learn. And you got to make the mistakes, but you learn from the mistakes. You learn from all those things, the accomplishments. Being nominated for a Grammy, that's great. That's motivating, but there's not much to learn from it, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Going wrong is where you go like, all right, let's talk about why that happened and what can we improve? How do we get stronger? And there was a lot of both happening, you know, throughout the whole time. You know,
what could be better than walking into get on stage and everybody knows your lyrics and singing along with you? I mean, that tells you a lot about the songwriting too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And even like, I tell you, one of the things that like going to somebody's concert that you wrote a song for, and like just standing in the middle and watch people sing that song, it shows you a different light on the blood, sweat, and tears that you put through your craft to get that song out. You know what I mean? And so, you know, of course, when I'm performing, people sing along, there's a performative aspect, but I can't necessarily stop and go like, really pay attention to that person singing. You know what I mean? But if I'm at a Vivian Green concert or a Musiq Soulchild concert or something like that, I can really sometimes just really take a minute and just look around and go like, wow, I really love those words. I really love, you know, the idea that the song is holding. And it's a good celebration. It's a celebration of like what you dedicated your life to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, you know, something you said earlier also struck me when you talked about your CDs at the table and, you know, at least do something. You know, I was in music management for quite some time, and, you know, I used to tell artists, it's great to have 600,000 streams. When you figure out how much you're making, if you spend time cultivating 1,000 fans, but spend time with them and talk with them and work with them, and they spend $10 a month, that's $100,000 a year compared to your $8 you just made from 6,000 streams.
Yeah.
You know, and so
I just told some students that this week, I said, get a calculator out And I was like, you don't need 5 million fans.
Right.
And I was like, if you know, I mean, but all you can look at it different scenario. There's a perfect look at it at that idea. But even if you grab 2,000, it's been 150. Do the math.
Yeah.
Been like figure out, because one thing of like, I feel like the new generation, the two things they don't know is like, well, what is it that you really want to do? And then like, have you ever thought about how much you want to make? You know, when I sit in front of students, or even I just did this mentorship program, the first thing I always say is I go, hi, I'm Eric Roberson. I have 3 kids, I have a wife. I take care of my family through music. And you need to know that I make a living with music, that it's possible. Because when I was 19 and 20 something years old, I was looking like, is this possible? And then I met people like Gordon Chambers, who was writing songs and was making a living as a songwriter, Kipper Jones. Those guys gave me strength to keep going, because I knew I wanted to be a father one day. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to raise a family. I wanted to be able to take care of my future kids and my future wife. And I didn't know if it was possible. I didn't see any examples until I ran into a lot of people, and they made me study the craft a little bit more and understanding the business. But like you said, I mean, I would even say that, like, if I was to really think about it, there's a core unit of certain fans that spend a substantial amount of money on me a year. That's the main base, right? And you got to make sure that you're speaking to that heart, speaking to that purpose and desire, because those are the ones who are going to be with you from like 20 years from now, God willing, still making music. They're going to still be right there. You know? Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, you know, the thing that's really important too, and again, you got this early on. You understood this. You want to control your own music. Record labels don't let you do that, and they want you to create formula music after a while. And Neil Young was one of the first ones that said, he told the record label to take a hike. He'd rather lose money than lose control of his creativity.
Yeah.
So he was one of the first ones out there that really just went on his own. So what you did, you really pioneered that, because in R&B and in soul and neo soul, you were one of the first ones out there who really took a stand. By the way, you got fans already making comments to you. There's somebody up there already. Here's another one that came in.
Wow. Now, how can I see? I know somewhere I can see the comments. Where is that?
Oh, you can't see it?
Hey, let me type that in.
Says being in control of your future.
But that's what important. I mean, I think it's important. And just today, I was doing a little writing today, and I was like, find something today that you can reevaluate your relationship with. Like, have you ever asked yourself, what does success mean to you? But have you asked yourself in the last 5 years? How have you asked yourself what type of love do you want to have in your life? Or have you asked that recently? Because you go through changes, and the success I was trying to chase in my 20s, I have no desire for in my 40s. It's trying to find that. So I do think there's a level of peace that I'm after, that I try to maintain, and music has been very rewarding for me in that standpoint. That it's, to me, songwriting is a message from God at the end of the day. It's like, it's not even that I'm sitting here, truly writing it. I'm more listening, and I'm more a person like Heather Henderson. I'll hear her say something, and that will open up a door and a channel. And I go, okay, what do you have me here for? And then I share it, and then hopefully what I share grows on and does more, And Amber, who just posted, is one of those people that I talk about. Like, that's a core fan. Like, she's consistently at 2 or 3 shows a year. She buys all the merch. She's invested into the songs, and I appreciate people like Amber. And I have a group called The Process, where people actually watch me in the studio. They follow me in the studio, and all the songs that I make, they get a copy of. I will tell you, she's a part of it. I don't know if there's ever a time that I post a song that she doesn't reply to that song.
we're going to get to the process in more detail later, because again, that was you were one of the first ones out there doing this. And somebody else that I had on my show that mentioned you too, Brian Culbertson, and Brian did something similar to that with the Hang. You know, he during the pandemic, he went out and bought this very sophisticated equipment because he wanted to communicate with his fans since he wasn't touring. And he got this equipment, and they actually wrote a song together in his studio, and and they could subscribe. And he put them on this song as executive producers, and it's with ASCAP. That song with all his fans are on this.
That's amazing. Like that's really a great opportunity, especially with him as well. That you actually can go in and actually create with them is a beautiful. But that's what it's all about, man. It's about the fellowship, and Brian, myself, we're just humans that are fortunate to do music, and we like feedback, and we have doubt, and we have insecurities as well. But we also have a moment where we're in tune and we're in line, and we make something that people might sing for a really long time.
Yeah. But Eric, one of the things that really fascinates me about people like you or Brian or Jeff Bradshaw, you mentioned, not only did you take your control of your career, but you went through some of the biggest changes in technology that the world's ever seen. From cassettes to CDs to streaming, and so the distribution process and how you price that and how you keep your career financially secure. That's a complex set of problems besides creating music and touring and recording. That's a lot to figure out.
But guess what? It never changed the overall objective and the overall goal. My goal is to grow doing music. And yes, you're absolutely right. I saw physical copies dwindle. There was a point where, my garage, or shall I say my dad's garage down the street, was stuffed with merch and CDs that we would never sell again. There were nowhere. All the mom and pop stores, all across all the independent stores were closing by the second after we had already pressed up 5,000 new albums, to ship out. And we were like, there's nowhere for it to go, when streaming took over and also like that. Or even when social media happened and MySpace took over and launched, and Facebook took over MySpace, and Instagram popped up, and you have to adjust. The pandemic happened and all the tour schedules canceled, and I have 9 guys on the road that I'm responsible for. I have my staff that I'm responsible for, and we figured it out. We said, all right, well, how can we still do shows? Let's do virtual shows. Let's figure. And we spent a large amount of time crashing and burning to try to figure out how to put together a different type of show. So I think it takes that. It's like, do you really want this? I was talking to a young man the other day, and he was telling his struggles on like getting things started, and he just didn't have the time or money to really promote like he wanted. And I was like, you're never going to have more time than you have now.
That's right.
So you got to figure it out. That you can't tell me that you have no time. My 7-year-old just walked in here.
Hey, how are you?
This is Max. This is Max. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing there?
Home from camp. You're never going to have enough time. You're going to have to figure out how to balance it all and figure out and make it happen, sir.
Where's my soccer practice?
Next week. No, it's Sunday. It's
Weird.
Sunday. I don't know. You have to ask mommy. But guess what? I'm doing an interview right now. Say hello to everyone, and I'll talk to you a little.
Hey, how are you?
But it's Sunday, okay? Okay, all right. I love you. Look, he's about to start partying. Go
Mama won't tell me where my soccer practice is, though.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you. I'll find out and I'll tell you. Okay. I love you.
Love you too.
Okay. That's the unexpected part of life. You got to get stuff done.
That's right.
Make sure that you
That's
have
right.
stuff. So it's like I mean, I've watched this thing change numerous times, and even my fan base change. I mean, when you think I have 17 albums, and there's the people that were here for the first 5 albums, here for the 5th album to the 10th album, people who just discovered me now, and you have to figure out how to transition and grow with all of it, But that's it. I mean, I think it comes down to, are you willing to do the work? I don't believe in the answer no. to me, all of it is just a mathematical equation, and I got to figure out how to solve the problem.
Definitely, absolutely. And this is a perfect time to introduce a song I want to play. It's called one of your songs, "Start All Over Again." It's a perfect now based on what we're talking about. So why don't you tell everybody the backstory on that song?
So that story was produced by an amazing producer out of California, Daniel Crawford. He and I are just good friends. He sent me this idea, and of course, my wife is one of my strongest muses. And I was just talking about like one, I wanted to really spark things with the holiday. If you listen about it, it sparks different holidays, but it also just goes that every day is just a reset. My goal is to love you better than I loved you the last day, and learn the new changes that are happening consistently in your life, and try to be a better person for that person who you're becoming, loving who you were, loving who you are now, and loving who you're about to be. And tomorrow, guess what? We're going to start all over again. It's pretty much what it's based on.
Well, wonderful. Let's play it and listen and enjoy some of your work.
So what? You want to know my plan? My plan is to love you. I'm here. What's my intention? Okay. First I kiss you, babe, then I love you down, only to wake up beside you and start all over again. First I kiss your lips, then I love you down, baby, yeah, only to wake up beside you and start all over again. You and I have an opportunity every single day feel just like a holiday, 'cause your kisses feel like Valentine, but tomorrow being Christmas Eve, so excited for what we will receive, but I'm good. All I want is you, babe, is you. So my intentions are, first I kiss you, babe, then I love you down, only to wake up beside you and start all over again. First I kiss your lips, then I love you down, baby, yeah, only to wake up beside you and start all July.
You know, that's a wonderful song. But you know, it just reminded me. Back in the day, you could play a 7 or 8 minute song.
Right.
Now, now they're down to 2 minutes.
Oh,
That's what they want. On FM, they want 2 minutes.
one verse, get on out. You know, like yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm known to write 3 verses. So like, you know, sometimes I got too much to say. So I get it, man. Yeah, you'll have somebody put out a 15-song album, and the album will only be like 20 minutes long. You know?
Yeah.
So,
How do you tell us? How do you tell a story in 2 minutes? It must be a short story, a novella.
there you go. That's how you tell it.
You got some more fans kicking in some comments for you here. Here's another one.
Oh man. So yeah, shout out to my product. So this young lady T Mocha Love makes a fried pound cake, and it's one of the most tasteful things you'll ever taste in your entire living life. Good Lord. But yeah, these are all love, man. Shout out to my process members, man. They showed up and show out, so I appreciate that because they definitely here.
Yeah, just so you know, you went over the 100,000 mark. So far, 100,000 people, 101,000 have clicked in to see you tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest audiences we've had. So
I appreciate it. So I see a login part. If I don't want to mess up anything, but I see if I log in, will I be able to see their chat then?
you should.
I might try to log. I'll wait till you play another. When you play another song, I'll try to log in just in case. But I don't want to mess up now. Yeah.
Okay, because you should be able to see them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So, okay. Tell me about the period. You know, I want to just backtrack a little bit. In the '90s, you had an EM publishing contract to write songs.
Oh no, well, I have a publishing. So I signed a publishing deal with EMI, who was eventually acquired by Sony. So now I'm what you'll call a Sony writer. So it was a co-publishing deal that I signed back when I was more of a songwriter, to really help me land songs with other artists and things of that nature, and also collect publishing royalties. It's not something I necessarily invested that much in anymore because I didn't really write songs for others. And the beautiful thing is that the great people at Sony also really never got in the way of me really just doing my own thing. You know, shout out to Big John Pratt and a lot of the heads there and stuff like that. And it's the faces have changed. The people that were in charge of EMI when I was there are now in charge of Sony, and so it's a blessing in that way. But yeah, it was a publisher that really helped me at the time to build my first studio and really get my name on the map as a songwriter. And publishing doesn't kind of change to the degree. I mean, it's still a valid area of business, but I get a lot of questions from students and also my peers about publishing deals and would you sign one again? Would you do it this and that, this and that? And I think it's always about the people more than it's about the money. If the right person is there and you feel like they believe in what you're doing, or they can sit down and put together a business plan that 5 years from now, I want you here, or 5 years now, where would you like to be? Can I help you get there? I think that's the reason why to sign. Like I was telling about it, as much as I'm an indie artist, whatever, I'm not opposed to a record deal. Like if I said I'm 50 years old now. I wouldn't sign a major record deal now, but at the same time, if one of the people that I trusted became VP of Sony Music or Warner Brothers or whatever and said, I would love for you to come over here and do an album, I would go. I'm not like, it's not like, I got to hold it all so tight. To me, it works. But I just don't think I don't think it works for everybody. And I also think that you can't spend your time waiting around. If you're ready, if you feel like you're making a valid, great level of art, find that demographic and get it to it. Get that work to them. If the paper comes, great, but if not, keep working.
Yeah, going back to the songwriting for a minute, was that something you consciously decided you wanted to do, or did EMI come to you and ask you to do it, and that's when you thought about it? No,
at that point I was already playing. I had a lot of placements already. I was really being known because really after the first kind of record deal stuff, I don't know, I kind of really dove into songwriting. And I will tell you, I mean, I think the next wave, like the wave of like Philadelphia writers, mind you, not from Philly, but I was working there at the time. Philadelphia artists getting signed, I was drastically overlooked at the time. But I gotta blame myself because probably for the last 5 years of that time, I was walking into every office going, "Hi, I'm Eric Roberson, the songwriter. I can write a song for you in the next 30 minutes. What's your artist? What do they need? Okay, I can write it right now. Put me in the studio. I'll have it done for you before the night is over." And every label A&R, every VP of every label, "Oh, that's Eric Roberson, the songwriter." I don't think they even thought I wanted a record deal. So when they heard songs coming from me, they just immediately thought, "Who should we put these on?" And then the desire to become an artist again started to rise up again. And I can't blame anyone for not signing me because I wasn't presenting Eric Roberson the artist. I was presenting Eric Roberson the songwriter. But that's what was probably what I needed to do at the time. But eventually I met an amazing young lady named Audra Washington, who at the time was with EMI, and she fell in love with my writing and what I was building. And I was presented an opportunity of doing a publishing deal. But at that point, that's interesting enough. That was before my friends got signed. So, I had a lot of records. And I'll tell you, the interesting thing is that you'll have a lot of records placed. And probably 10 to 20% of those records came out. Most of those records didn't come out. There was one time, I signed my publishing deal, I had 16 songs placed, ready to come out on major labels. I don't know if any of them came out. But then the next year, Jill Scott came out. Musiq Soulchild came out. Vivian Green came out. And those were just the friends that we were, in studios trying to make dreams come true. And I was so I always tell everybody, while you're chasing the Ushers and the Beyoncés and the big artists, whatever, make sure that you spend time working with the person at your church that you feel got a strong drive, or the person you met at the improv or the jam session, because that's probably going to be the next Beyonce. That's going to be the next Erykah Badu. That's going to be the next D'Angelo. Take the time to invest in them and see what they're up to, because that's where the magic could be at.
We're talking about before about the 1990s, and during that period, your music was, I remember, it was described. You were so eclectic. That's really what I'm getting at. And it was described as post New Jack, and then it was described. You started doing soul, gospel, contemporary soul, and you went hip hop and house music. How did you control all of that? Because it's so multi-dimensional, and it draws on different parts of how you approach music. I mean, how did you become so eclectic and not stay within one genre?
I think the magic of being from New Jersey. The magic of being in New Jersey is that I was in choir rehearsal on Wednesday and Thursday. I was in church on Sunday. I was a hip hop kid, so I was banging on the table in the cafeteria. My friends down the street, older brothers, were coming across the bridge from these parties going, "Something's happening over there in New York." They're like speaking the beats, and it's crazy. And then my dad was coming home with these rare albums like the Eagles, or Earth, Wind and Fire, or Boss, John. It was like a plethora of different stuff. So, I was like, and then house music was really heavy in New Jersey. So when we went to parties, they weren't playing hip hop. They were playing house music. So boom, 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 So Friday, Saturday, we're that, and then Sunday we, and then Monday I'm like, boom, boom, and then your mom would say, boom. So it was like all these different genres. And then one day my parents got me a sequence keyboard, and I was like, okay, what would I want to do? And I remember, like, I first time realizing that somebody did this for a living was Stevie Wonder. I read the credits and like, this is his job. Oh, okay. And then Commission, the gospel group Commission, was the first time that a song affected me. Like, I was crying to a song, like just randomly just crying, like, why is this song making me feel this way? Like, like, wow. And then I really have to give them credit is A Tribe Called Quest came at the time I was trying to make music. And when I was like, I'm this church kid, loves house music, I'm this hip hop kid. I also love R&B. I also love that country music my dad brought over. That rock stuff was pretty fly too. What do I do? And Tribe was kind of like, just do what you feel. Like, if you feel like, if anyone asks me what I do, I call it honest music. So one day I'll do a house song. Next song I'm doing a Billy Joel piano song. Next song I'm doing an R&B song. My main fan base, what I will tell you is that it's soul music. I look for soul music in all of it. Radiohead to me is soul music. Sting is soul music. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
You know, Coldplay to me is soul music. And when I say that, is like unapologetically chasing what's in your heart. If I feel your heart in it, the Beatles to me is soul music. And I don't mean, sure, like the description of like soul music and the fact that it has to have a Fender Rose and like live drums, that can be looked at it that way. But I know too many artists that I listen to and I go, oh my God, that's beautiful. If it makes me do that, that's soul music, man. If I feel it in my soul, it's soul music. You know, and so I'm not talking about Motown. I'm talking about this honest feeling I get when I listen to Fishbone. You know, when I listen to Brian Blake's Fellowship, when I listen to John Coltrane, when I listen to Andre Crouch, when I listen to the Doobie Brothers, when I listen to Paul McCartney post Beatles, you know, like it gives me something. When I listen to Queen, it gives me something, and that's what I'm chasing every day. Like, what's in my head, and how can I unapologetically present it? And some days it might be a little too left, and some days it's right on point. You know.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about. It's very simply, I think the way to describe you is you never met a genre you didn't like.
No, not one bit. I mean, even when I tell everybody, you'll never really hear me go, "Oh, that's trash." Like even like what the young kids are doing right now, I may not understand it, but if it's an energy, it's about the energy, right? So if it's a certain kind of energy, then let me allow first of all that energy to exist because it's maybe not my type of energy, but it's an energy that these other people are enjoying. So it must be something right about it. And if I invest a little time, they go, well, what are they listening? How are they hearing it? I might be dancing around like they are. It just takes the time to invest in what that culture is invested in, you know? So yeah, but very rarely will I go, oh, that's just bad. No, it's not bad. It's maybe just a different frequency and energy than what I usually am listening to.
Yeah, you know who does that a lot? I mean, I love her. Macy Gray. You know, she will take every single, you know, alternative, you know, punk, and she turns it into soulful music. You know, and she can find the soul in all of that, like you're talking about. It's there.
Yeah, like even the fact that like I remember Maxwell did a MTV Unplugged, and he covered a 9 Inch Nails song. And I was kind of like, how did you know this song? I know it. Like, you know, it's like, because a great song's a great song, man. Like a great song is a great song. Who cares if it's buried under heavy metal production or country music or classical? A great melody is a great melody. A great beat is a great beat. Like period, man. And that's really all I'm after. I'm after something that makes me go, oh my God, how did you think of that? Oh.
Well, you know, that's why I mentioned Macy. You know, she sang "Creep," which is, you know, you never expect her to go there.
But her first single was you taking a Goody Mob hook, or shall I say, Outkast. You got to get up, get out, and get something.
Yeah.
The days that you like passed by, I was like, that's brilliant. What made you think to use that? Because we're
exactly
the music. We're fans. We love it. So I'm with it. I'm 100% with it.
That's wonderful. You know, let's talk about. You know, you mentioned it earlier. Let's talk briefly about your Grammy when you had Music Fan First.
Yes.
So, why don't you tell us about that? You know, tell us something about the music and, you know, and how were you surprised that you were Grammy nominated?
I was surprised because at the time, independent artists weren't being, you know, nominated for it. And now I would say it's like shout out to PJ and Rob and a lot of others, because now there's independent artists winning Grammys, right? So I'll say that, you know, Rob, myself, Let Us See, Foreign Exchange. I remember like we were all starting to get nominated because of the people in the room were respecting us and putting us equal to these major label releases, right? What I'll tell you is I made an album called Music Fan First, mainly because it was probably what I needed in my life at the time. And what I will tell you is that I was going through some really bad vocal issues. Eventually, I had to have vocal cord surgery. But at that time, you know, there was still years before it really got to a really bad level. But my dreams that came true, but things started feeling like an obligation. The tour schedule was brutal on my body and on my voice. And I was struggling to maintain an enjoyment in what I was doing. And I had to get back personally to remember that I was a fan of music first. And it's been the soundtrack to my highest days, my lowest days. And so let me create from that place. And so we made an album. The album could have easily been called Screw the Rules. Because that's what we said in the studio. You notice with the time signature doesn't make sense. So what? Screw the rules. You know, this song doesn't have a hook. Who cares? It feels good. Screw the rules. Like, I mean, and what I will tell you is that my first nomination was for a song called A Tale of Two. Now I would have thought like the duet with Layla Hathaway, which we would have thought, oh, this is the song. Which I
love that duet.
Thank you. And I have to sing that song every night. Like, trust me, it's a big song for me. But the first nomination came from this song that broke called Songwriting Rules. It was a story. It didn't end with a happy ending. It had no hook whatsoever. Tale of Two. And then the next year I got nominated again from the same album for another song. They broke even more rules. Like, you know, I'm going against the time signature. So the band, I remember my band at first was like, do we have to play this? Where's the one? I don't even know. Like, it was like, the one's right here. Come on, screw the rules. Let's play. Let's have fun, you know? And now they love playing it and stuff like that. But I think we got nominated because people felt like they were beautiful songs. They were honest. And that was a good testament for me that we got recognized at the highest level for really doing what we felt and not what we felt people would want. But like, if it gave me goosebumps, if it took my breath away, there's a good chance that it's going to take your breath away. There's a good chance it's going to take your goosebumps away. And that's really how I base my business on everything. I'm a fan of it first. If I'm not a fan of it, if I'm not emotionally attached to it, or if somebody in my team's not emotionally attached to it, then you don't get it. You only get it because it makes me go, oh my God, I love it. Like if when I'm there, I tell you, we're about to do these t-shirts, right? And so one of my staff members named Jarrell, he's pressing these t-shirts. He has a t-shirt company. I have about 40 of these upstairs because I haven't been happy with, like, the font needs to change, or I want to move it over some, or I want to try a different brand or whatever. I've already spent. They're not going to be profitable because I've already blew the budget already. But I want it to be right. I want it to blow my mind away. I want to go, that's it. That's the shirt. If I saw the shirt on somebody else, I'd go like, what's that? I want that. Like, that's why we do it. So the songs have to be that. And when it works, that's the magic. That's the blessing.
You know, Eric, you're hitting on something else too. And I've had this conversation with other artists. Some artists try to write for their fans. Other artists write for their strength. And when they write for their strength, that's what their fans want. So, you know, sometimes it's such a difficult balancing act between knowing what your fans' expectations are, but also knowing what you want to bring them and maybe go in a different direction. You know, artists like Jimi Hendrix, he had a problem. You know, the record labels wouldn't let him stretch the blues, which he wanted to do so badly. You know, but that's where his heart was, and that's where his music wanted to be. You know, and so sometimes the balance between commercial impact and creativity, it's the creativity that really creates the commercial impact. You know, and
what's simple as the t-shirt says, it's the process or the product.
Yeah.
So I always tell everybody, writer's block doesn't have to be in the beginning or like just a self-doubt. Writer's block might be that I just won 2 Grammys and now I'm in the studio again going, will this song win me a Grammy? That's probably right. Oh, the crowd love this. And guess what? The crowd discovered you not because you were like, will this person love this? The crowd discovered you because you had this idea. You went, and you chased it, and it was honest. And they said, I love that. And now they want to see that honesty in you again. Even if it's a left turn, they want to see you go, ah. But what happens is we start thinking product over process. Will this be like the last one? Will this be bigger? Will this the crowd be going crazy? And sure, that's what the staff is for. You know what I'm saying? But while I'm here, I gotta be full process. I gotta be in the moment. Like in the moment, I cannot be concerned with the song I did yesterday. I cannot be concerned with the song I'm doing tomorrow. I can only be concerned with the song I'm doing now. This interview is the same thing. I can't be concerned with anything else but the fact that this is the conversation I'm having, and this is the connection I'm having, and these are my amazing kids. That my middle guy, Ryder. Hi, Ryder.
Hey, how you doing? How are you?
Good. Say hello. All right.
Say hello to everybody.
You know, it's the same thing with kids. It's like it's the process of like trying to connect and loving with them, you know, as much as you possibly can. And
well, this is a perfect time for your song "Good Loving."
Yes.
So I'm going to play that, and you can try to log in again if you want to see the comments.
Definitely.
I don't need a cheerleader cheering me on every step of the way. You might be an independent woman. I don't need you spending the money you make. Girl, I need good loving will do. Oh, baby, good loving will do. All I need is conversation. Oh, and say what you do. What I need, good loving will do. Oh, baby, good loving will do. All I need, on time, when we are through. See, I don't need you to be my mama. See, my mama is sweet enough. I don't need you to bring no drama. If you got it, you can keep that stuff. See, the world is going crazy. I'm just looking for some relief. But I'm at you, girl, oh, step for step. Oh, our entanglement would not be brief. Girl, all I need, good loving will do. Oh, baby, good loving will do. What I need, little conversation, and say what you do. All I need, good loving will do. Oh, baby, good loving will do. Girl, all I need, on time, when we are through. Don't get me wrong, I am here for every single one of your needs. I'm just saying that my needs are simple. Just love me, babe, and let's just see where that leads. Girl, I need good loving will do. Oh, baby, good loving will do. All I need, little conversation, and say what you do. Little turkey cheek, girl, good loving will do. Oh, come on, yeah, come on. Good loving will do. What I need, on time, when we are through.
Good loving will do. even do any better than this. What do you think, baby? When you look back at all the things that we've had and how we've been blessed, could we do any better than this?
I love that. That's wonderful. You know,
I logged it and knocked me all the way out, so I'm good. I don't see the chat, but I love everybody. I wish I could chat with them, but it's all good.
yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Hey, it says, "Hey, process fam." You see it?
Aisha, yes.
Yeah, and here's another one. You have a lot of them coming in.
JD Patrick, what's good? Process in the house, man. You know, the process power hour takeover. Vaughn is good. Vaughn is all, the whole crew. You know, Shalita.
Yeah, you got them all here for you. Hey, look, I want to ask you about something. We met a long time ago. You probably don't remember. We met at the Afro-American Festival in Towson. You were headlining, and I was managing another artist who kind of opened for you, L.A. Young. I don't know if you remember back then. It was probably about 2015, 2016. Wow. But anyway, we met. But I've gone to a couple of your concerts. I love them. And one of the things you do, you tell jokes.
Why not?
Why don't you tell everybody about that? How did that become part of your show? I know you did that when you were on TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be honest with you, I think it's about just being very free on stage and being willing to. I mean, what I'll tell you is that everything that you see on stage is either happening in that moment, is coming up with it right that moment, or it came up in a show we did right before that or something like that. You know, there's times when we do something like that worked. Wow, we should do that at the next city, and it becomes part of the show. But I think it's good to be transparent. And if I pride myself on being an entertainer as a whole, so if that means writing a song from scratch, or if that means, you know, if a couple walks in wearing a fuchsia outfit from head to toe, there's a good chance that I'm going to stop and make a song about it, or, you know, acknowledge you guys are fuchsia from head to toe. Like, what made him put on fuchsia shoes to go with your dress? You know what I mean? So I think that's where it comes from, just being open and allowing the left and right turns that may happen during the show to happen.
Yeah, but do you write this stuff in advance, or is it spontaneous?
Spontaneous. It's like,
because you're a funny guy. You're a funny dude.
We're loose at sound check. We're loose backstage. So why not be free in the same place, in the place that people paid for you to be free at? You know, and I think you also got to know the room. Like if I was throwing a whole bunch of jokes out and it wasn't landing, then, you know, maybe I'm gonna stick to the script and knock some songs out. But most times than not, you know, if I find something funny, there's a good chance somebody else is gonna find it funny. So I'll open my mouth and share it, and next time we're all laughing. And you know, when I play San Diego, I'm a big Anchorman fan. So when I play San Diego, I'm always surprised. I'm saying all these Anchorman references, and nobody in San Diego is getting it. So I'm like, that might be the only place where, like, but I'm forcing it a little too much. Most other things, I just let it naturally happen, you know?
Well, I'm telling you, when I talk to people that go to your shows, one of the first things they say is, oh, separate from the fact they love your songs, that is a funny dude. I mean, they really enjoy what you bring. I mean, they know it's genuine. They know it's you. They love it.
My wife always says, don't let them tell me that, because, you know, shit on my head around here. But, you know, around the house, I'm just known for dad jokes. Very simple, very cliche. Little jokes. I love being free on stage, though, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, it just adds so much to your show. You know, let's play another of your songs. I think this is the one that I've been looking for. It's the title track, "Lessons."
Yes.
So I want to play it. Why don't you tell everybody about that, about the LP and about the song, the title song?
Well, I wrote the song during the pandemic, and it actually was. I always tell everybody, like, it's very interesting, like, just how things are meant. Because when I went downstairs to write, it was the morning of my anniversary, and I think being that it was the morning, like 3:00 in the morning, I think it put me in a certain place. And it was a pandemic, and we're all worried and scared and isolated and stuff like that. So I think I'm just being very transparent about my life, and just things were up and down, but we've been very fortunate to be where we are and survive it all and keep thriving. Me and my wife and my 3 kids and stuff. So I sat down and wrote a song, man, and to be honest, it's probably the biggest song of my career.
Yeah.
And that's very inspiring to be my age and really have a song that we just wrote to get that kind of attention. So with it, we made T-shirts, we made books, we made an album. You know, everything's built off of this one song that I was in this room around 3:00 in the morning and just kind of.
Well, it's a great song. I know you have other songs in the works, and they're going to keep coming out. But it's all lessons that we learned. So let me play this for everybody, and then we'll be right back.
Cool. God has a funny way of showing you lessons. For years I would stare up in the sky with so many questions. Like, will I find someone for me? Or even if I'm standing in a place I need to be. I can't say that every love affair I had was perfect, but every painful day and late night was worth it. Now I realize everyone that let me down led me to you. Oh baby, all them sleepless nights, all the heartbreak I had led me to you. If I never went through it, I would have never found a love like you. It's not about the past, it's all about the present. I thought love wasn't meant to be until the day I felt it from you. Gave so much to me, can't help but give it back to you. Right now, I just wanna breathe and see it living. Oh, come on, babe. Now I realize everyone that let me down led me to you. Oh, baby, all them sleepless nights, all the heartbreak I had led me to you. If I never went through it, I would have never found a love like you. The sky was always blue, so blue, but blue, and now with you, the sun, it seems to shine bright enough. I needed ups and downs just to realize this now. And now that you're around, I truly know love. I can't help but thank God for you, baby. Yeah. Now I see, now I realize everyone that let me down led me to you. Led me to you. And I'm thankful, baby, for them sleepless nights, all the heartbreak I had led me to you. Led me to you, led me to you, led me, baby, to love you, baby girl. Yeah. Everyone can't believe me. I used to say, why me, why me, why me, why me? Yeah. See, God has a funny way of showing you lessons.
Wonderful song. Wonderful. Look, I know we've done this, we've been spending a lot of time tonight. I want to go over a couple more things with you because I want your fans to know you wrote a book. Why don't you tell us about that? You're not only a songwriter, you're a book writer.
Yeah, I mean, I love writing in all forms. And I wrote a book called Lessons, 100 Lessons on Life and Love. And it was really, it was created out of the marketing plan for Lessons. And it's an interesting and very transparent book about the things that I love, as well as in my love for media and movies, films, and so it's a great love of art, but it's also my first of hopefully many books. I'm actually working on another book now that that hopefully will be out maybe by the end of the year, if not early next year. But what I also tell everybody is the newest thing I've been doing right now is really just investing in essays. So I have these 3 T-shirts: process over product, the only way to get to the rainbow is through the mud, as well as read till you're full, write till you're empty, and then read till. And what I say is with each T-shirt comes an essay, written out essay of what the whole thing means to me. And I feel like I don't know if I'm very open, the same way as like the songs where how it shows up. I don't want to say I'm writing a book and I'm gonna write a book. It might be a thing where like it might be more impactful to just have like a collection of essays. Like this is what I feel on creativity. This is how I feel on doubt. This is what I feel on process or product. This is how I feel on such and such. And if it helps and it's beneficial to people, then I'm very happy for it. So I'm still kind of navigating my way through the mud and figuring it all out. But I'm a writer. Like I said, I have an article in Billboard that just was published 2 weeks ago that I think is very helpful for upcoming artists. And the pen is moving. The pen is moving more than ever. And I'm very thankful to it. And I'm very grateful. And I'm doing my best to stay healthy so that that channel stays open.
Well, you've accomplished so much. And one of the other things that you've accomplished too, you've been faculty at the Berklee School of Music. So
Yeah.
How did that come about too?
Well, to be fair, let me say this also. I took a year off. I love everyone there. First of all, to all my friends at Berklee, but I took a year off to write, to really focus on writing. And but what I will tell you is that about 5 years ago, I got a phone call out the blue. And there was an amazing professor named Erin Barra, who I used to mentor. And now she's actually head of another program in Phoenix, Arizona. But a job opening opened, and she said, you just have to interview Eric Roberson. Like, you just have to interview him. It wasn't on my radar in any form or fashion. And what I'll tell you is that when they first called, I passed. I said, I'm living in New Jersey. It's in Boston. And they're like, can you come for, this particular amount of time? And I was like, no, I'm not trying to move to Boston. And no, I can't do it. And then they called back again, and I passed again. And then they called back a third time, and they said, would you be willing to come 1 day a week? And I said, well, let me think about it, because teaching is something I love to do. It is a passion of mine, but I'm also a father. I'm also a husband. I also have heard, I just want to make sure I can do it all. So I would fly up every Tuesday morning, teach all day, and I would go to the airport and fly home. And it is very beautiful. What I will tell you that I didn't realize, 2 things. One is that I would teach a class on Tuesday, and a student would ask a question, and I would find myself Sunday on the other side of the world at a show, and I would be thinking about that question the student asked. I couldn't leave the class. It wasn't just Tuesday. I was teaching all week. And then the students, they're connecting with you. So you're writing, they're emailing you. There's a conversation. And I taught a business class. So even in a business class, let me show you what I'm doing business-wise. Let me show you how these songs are working. I remember there was a time a student said, has an artist ever asked you for publishing? I said, several times. Let's talk about it. What would you do if an artist asked you for publishing? And let me give you the political answer and the unpopular answer. But let's talk about it. Like, let's really get in here and really break it down. And that's the beauty. But to me, the beauty of it is beautiful when it's happening at Berklee, but it's also beautiful when, somebody knocks on the dressing room door after the show and says, can I come in and talk to you? How do you balance your career and your kids? Or I just did my first album and it's not going the way I thought it would go. How do you stay focused? let's sit down. That's perfect. Okay, let's talk about it. So whether it's a class of 20 people, or it's one person in a dressing room, or it's 100,000 people that are receiving an essay or article that just wrote, it's about sharing and trying to share those goosebumps and share those moments that I'm constantly trying to look for that young person that reminds me of me when I was there trying to figure it out, you know? And I think part of my purpose. And it's at whatever school, at whatever platform in this very moment, if there's something that I can be helpful to encourage somebody to find what they're meant to have and do, then I'm going to spend the time investing in it, because I'm here because people take the time to invest in me.
That's great. You know, again, you've done so many different kinds of things, and that's part of your independence. I mean, you're willing to explore and grow and change, and you know, I think that's what your fans also see in you. That you know, they want to follow that. They want to be able to do that. They want to understand, you know, that process.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. You know, I have one last question for you. If you could collaborate or be on stage and sing with any artist from any era, from the 1900s to to now, who would you choose?
My answer is usually always Erykah Badu.
I'm sorry?
My answer is usually always Erykah Badu. I just went to go see her 2 days, and she performed in Newark, and she was incredible. And I'm a big fan of her as a songwriter. I think she's just gorgeous in the whole nine, and just a prolific artist in every sense of the way. So she would usually be my answer, and and it is. But you messed me up by saying in any genre of any time.
Yeah.
And usually it's not even that I would want to be on stage with them. Like I would love to be a fly on the wall to see how she wrote Bag Lady, or
Yeah.
You'll See, or See You Next Lifetime. Like, how did you write that? Like, I would love to just witness. I wouldn't even really want to write with her or work with her. I just want, how did you put that together? My other answer, if you tell me any other art timeline, it's probably Bill Withers.
Oh my God, you're hitting one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. I would want to see how he came up with Grandma's Hands. I want to see how he came up with Hello Like Before, or the only Love Made Me Laugh, Made Me Cry.
Oh, I love that song.
How did you, another close second? I mean, of course, Stevie Wonder is my favorite of all favorites and everything. And I've had the fortune of being in the studio with Stevie and Cena, and it's a dream come true. But there's still some people like Barry White, man, Play in Your Game. If I could be on a fly on the wall to see how he wrote Play in Your Game, I would give anything to just be able to witness that. Or Roberta Flack, the first time ever I saw, your face, like, how did you realize what to take out to find the magic in such the simplicity of how you approached it? Like, I just, oh my God, dude, you blew my mind when you said every genre, because I'm like, oh, he did this. Frank Sinatra, he did this.
Your good buddy Dwele, he shocked me. You know who he picked? Minnie Riperton.
She's on my list, of course.
Yeah, but I didn't expect that from him. It came right out when I asked him any genre, anytime. Minnie Riperton just popped right out. Just like Sade.
Sade. Oh, I'll be no good. I couldn't. Don't even put me in the studio. There's certain people don't put me in the studio because it wouldn't be productive. I was too busy standing on the forehead like it's glistening. It's like, no, man. I need to be productive and pull something out of it. But all of these people, I have such a high respect for their penmanship and their artistic visual direction, that I mean, it'd be great to collaborate with them, but I be honest with you, if I had my way, I would just want to watch them.
Yeah. When you mentioned Bill Withers, what Bill did before he became a songwriter, he was a UPS driver.
He was making toilets at one point. He's like, hey man, this don't work, I'll go back and make toilets.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. He's the person that I most relate to in the music business. Out of times what I've read about him and saw about him and listened to his music, I probably relate and connect to him the most. And I'm not really an envious person. I feel like what's meant for me is what's meant for me and what's for others. But I will tell you that I'm a bit envious that some of my friends had a chance to really meet him and talk with him before he passed. When I tell you, when I got the news that Bill Withers passed, I cried the entire day.
Yeah.
You know,
I
was a mess.
I've been crying a lot since Phyllis Hyman.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, Phyllis Hyman was incredible. You know, I totally get it. But he's one of the best, man.
Oh yeah. You know? Here's a great comment from somebody. Can you see it?
Troy is one of my dearest friends, so you know it's almost like I want to discredit it, but it's such a beautiful phrase.
It is.
One of the most thing about it, brother, is he takes business serious, but does not take himself too serious. He's actually right, and I don't think you can. I don't think you should. You know, there's phrases written all around this room. The one way up top, I don't know if you can see. I know you can't see it. It's above here. It says, "Find time to be small." My grandfather told me that one day, and he said that if you didn't have the small things that helps the big show, where would the show be? He's like, so there's nothing more important. I'm no more important than the person who bought the ticket that came to see me. I came to see them. If they're not there, I'm looking for them. Like, what? The moment I say I'm not here for them, the moment they don't show up, I'm like, where's the crowd, right? You know, so we're all there together, no more important than any other, and I mean that. I hold that. Me and the bandmate joke said the Marquis says that's a great quote from Mo Better Blues. But at the end of the day, I'm no more important than the band that's backing me or supporting me and playing with me. I need the amplification to help these dreams come true.
Yeah, my mother used to have a lot of folk wisdom, and one day I came home from school complaining about something I said that somebody in class said that was so stupid, and she said, "Never criticize somebody for being stupid because without them, you wouldn't look so good." She said, "You need them more than they need you."
God bless you, Mom. Right. They make you look good.
Look, this has been wonderful. I so enjoyed having you on the show. You know, I mean,
good talking with you. Thank you for the great questions. And like I said, you blew my mind with that of any genre, and I can't stop thinking of all the people that I would love to watch work. You know, it's a list. I might need to write that list out one day because it's really now.
Yeah. Well, look, again, it's been just a real pleasure, and I hope to have you back on in the near future again.
I hope so too, man. And let me know. Like I said, I'm an open book, and we look forward to getting on. I mean, like I said, with all the music we have coming out and everything, I think we should, with time, let's get together and catch up again.
Wonderful. Are there any last things you want to say to your fans? By the way, we had 161,000 people who clicked in tonight.
God bless you. Just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the support.
From Canada, the UK, Japan, Australia, India.
I just want to say that you're a baller. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to say. Shout out to the show, so I appreciate it. And let's try to break it. Let's go for 200,000 next time. Okay.
I'm all for it. Let's do it, brother.
All right, man. Thank you for the time, man. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right, now. Take it.